What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Yarrell. Welcome to Spilling All the Tea. And today, introducing Tea Time Talk. This is more or less where I talk about just my life, things that I've gone through, or things that I'm probably going through. Some of these may end up as being rants, others, more of the emotional tip, but it's just a way for you guys to get to know me a little more personally, a little more in depth, because like I said, there's many different sides to me from what y'all see on some of these videos. So, but because this is Spilling All the Tea, you guys know I gotta have some tea for you guys. Got some in the cup right here. I'm also hit my vape. So, today I want to talk about suicide. And it's a very, very strong topic, very iffy for those of us in the black community. If you're not black, just stay with me where I'm going with this, because some of you might even be able to rock with this. But I grew up, because like I said, my parents, they're in their 60s. And I grew up, like I said, well, they grew up during a time where you keep a lot of things private. A lot of things. You don't talk about a lot of what's going on. And when it comes to business, I'm like that currently. I don't need everybody knowing the inner workings, especially if I can deal with it myself and correct the issues. But, that kind of played a role in my development and the whole suicide thing. So, like I said, I gotta take you guys back down memory lane. But I was 8 going on 9. And like I said, I don't have the dates exactly, but my grandmother, she had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children. I'm sorry, I really had to think about it, y'all. 3 girls and 1 boy. I'm sorry, 4 girls and 1 boy, 5 children. I'm so sorry. I've been drinking before this, you guys. I'm sorry. But one of my aunts, she did some, like I said, she did some drinking. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't know what was really going on with her, but I do remember that we were outside and she was on the front porch, and all of a sudden she went limp, and she kind of like slid down the porch stairs. And if you guys can imagine taking like a pitcher of water and pouring it down the stairs, and how it kind of goes like this, like that's kind of how I saw my aunt. Shortly thereafter, give or take maybe within a couple of days, found out that my aunt died. And this was the first death that I encountered. There was another one before that. That was my father's mother, but she passed away when I was 3. My memories of her are very vague, so I really cannot count her in this story. But just putting it out there. But my aunt, one of my 4 aunts, she passed away, and that was kind of rough. It was rough mostly because her son, pretty much my first cousin, we are 6 months apart. And I mean, we did so much together, but it was hard to see him go through it. Again, as I said, we're 6 months apart. So it was around summertime. So I was 8, so he had just turned 9 or was turning 9. And I know that was rough for him, And later on that year, I want to say maybe around like the August, September time frame, I heard that my uncle, so my mother's only brother, had also passed away. So chalk it up, that's 2, and I'm 8 years old. And again, death occurring and really not knowing what it is, or really know how to comprehend it or how to deal with it, it's very hard, especially on a kid. And even before I finish the story, I'll be completely honest, like I don't wish that on anybody. to have to sit here and either see someone pass before your eyes, or even know that it occurs. Take a drink now. So the way that we lived in Chicago, lived in apartment style buildings. It was a basement, a first floor, and a second floor. And the way that it pretty much worked, and I'm going to have to use alias names to get through this story, because I don't want to put, like I said, I'm telling my story, but I don't want to put any of my family's business out there per se. But you know, you had the way, like the building off to the left, you had my mother's brother. You had her aunt. I'm gonna call her what do I want to call her for the sake of this story? I cannot think of a name. Sally. In the basement, I'm gonna call her Billie Jean. And that's the one that passed. And for those of you who don't know, my father is actually from Mississippi. And my mother's mother, she is from Starsville, Mississippi, and her father is from Montgomery, Alabama. And I also have family in St. Louis, so southern roots for this boy, even though I grew up in the Midwest. And then in the building that we lived in, my mother, I, and my two brothers, we lived on the second floor. On the first floor was my grandparents and my mother's parents, more or less. And in the basement was Billie Jean's son. So, you know, fast forward a year. It's November. I'm 9, mind you. Just before Thanksgiving. I don't, like I said, I cannot recall everything from this, but I know I recall being on the first floor, and it was so chaotic because you had everybody running around, you know, and my grandfather, you know, I might have to do a video about, you know, old school foods, because I tell you, my granddad was something else. Disciplinarian. But I mean, I love this man. I really did. I loved him like with the purest of hearts. But I remember being on the first floor, and everyone is just like, you know, call 911, call 911. Everyone is in an uproar. And I always thought it to be funny watching TV when you see stuff like that and people saying call 911 and people forget the number or misdial it. I totally forgot the fucking number. And I have regrets from that. That may be another video. But I have regrets from that, you know, because part of me felt like I could have done something, but given what we know, nothing that we would have done would have helped. Plus, someone had already called 911 already, and then even then, you know, what am I going to say? But I lost him right before Thanksgiving, and it's kind of weird because it's almost just like, well, what do we have to be thankful for? And what hurts so, what really was hurting about that is watching how my grandmother dealt with that. She was a very, very God-fearing woman. You know, she was Christian. And what I love most about her is she was caring. She was very, you know, kind-hearted. And when you have those people that embody God, that are very godly, she was one of them. Like, she embodied what it was to be, you know, a Christian, a very God-fearing woman. And like I said, this story that I'm telling you guys is going to set the tone for other stories, so you guys kind of understand my life, because a lot of things stem from this story that I'm telling. And even to give a little bit more of a backstory, my parents divorced when I was 2. And there was a period that my mother was, stay at home with the boys, so me and my 2 brothers. And then she eventually went back to work. And she worked, having to take care of her boys, And I said, I'm not even going to use this platform to even sit here and diss my father, regardless, But like I said, that is still my father. But they had their issues, they had their challenges. But my mother, she worked so much, and maybe some of y'all might be able to feel this, but she would wake up around 5 o'clock in the morning to start getting herself ready. And it wasn't just getting herself ready. She's getting herself ready. She's getting me and my middle brother up, trying to get us ready for school, this, that, and the third. Try to get us breakfast, shoo us out the door, all that good jazz. So she would wake up at 5, not leave for work until around about a good 7:30 in the morning to make it to work, give or take maybe around about 9. And this happened this was a constant, when she went back to work. Because I do have fond memories, of my mother and us going to, Dominic's, for those of y'all who know what that is, Jules, all these different stores, her picking me up from school on a Friday. Like, that was our thing, her picking me up on a Friday, taking me to, us going to the store, going to Sears, all this other stuff, doing shopping, her buying me, a toy here and there, getting groceries, like good memories like that. But she went back to work, and then I did not really understand. It's one of those things where I didn't really have an appreciation for her self-sacrifice until I got much older. But it went from, my mother being my mother to my mother having to wear 2 hats. And my mother would get off work at 5. There were days that she would have to go to the store immediately after work. But when she got home, like I said, we've been out of school since about a good 2-3 o'clock. So having to fend for ourselves and everything, again, that might be another story. But by the time she got home, she would take a moment to unwind. Again, being 28 years old and doing my own thing, I know how it is when you get back to just want to unwind and just kind of, just like from the day. And dinner will probably be on the table somewhere in between maybe like 8:30 and 10 o'clock at night. And this is no exaggeration, unless there were leftovers in the fridge, and then we would have that. And trust when I say I know about leftovers. So whenever I would get home from school, most of the time I would end up on the first floor under my grandparents. And I remember with my my grandmother, I was in the kitchen with her when she would be cooking. That's sort of kind of where my love for my love for cooking comes in. Being around her, I don't drink coffee much now, but I remember me and my cousin, my first cousin, she would make coffee, give us coffee, and being young, how we have high, sweet, taste palates, but as you get older, you somewhat like and crave bitter things. I would put so much cream and sugar in my coffee, but that's how I enjoyed it. But just those moments, can't get that back. And I spent so much time with my grandmother. It was almost as if she was my mother. And again, no one can replace my mom. No one can. But having these memories, even memories with my grandfather, and since we're just talking, I remember. No, I'm gonna say that for Old School Fools video. Talk about my grandfather, how much I loved him, and even talk about old school, tear that ass up. That's gonna have to be another video too. Gotta talk about that, y'all. But several days after my birthday, my birthday is December 23rd, so I think it was maybe like December 26th. 26 or 27, I think it was 26. I was watching a WCW pay-per-view. I I loved wrestling then. I still like it now. That's one of those things that still ties me to my childhood. I know I remember Diamond Dallas Page wrestling, something like that, and I hear a knock on the door, and I, casually walk to cause I'm in the back room, so I go all the way to the front, open the door, and I don't see anybody. I'm just kind of like, okay, maybe I'm hearing things. So I go back to watch TV, and I hear it knocking again. I bolt to the door because I'm just like, somebody's like fucking with me, and it's my aunt. What did I call it? I call it Jenny. Sally. It's one of Sally's daughters, and she's like, go next door and get my kids. She's crying, and I'm somewhat freaking out, so I put my shoes on, I go downstairs, just like right outside the door, and she's standing by the front door, and she is bawling, and I'm just like, what's wrong? And she's like, it's grandma, and that's all she could say. So, mind you, 3 deaths. My aunt, one of my aunts, my mother's only brother, and my mother's father. And I think we all know where this story is going. And one thing that I neglected to mention that I wanted to was after my grandfather passed, we could feel how heavy my grandmother's heart was, because for what it's worth, that was her soulmate. And to lose the one that you've loved for so many years, that you've cared for so many years. I mean, my grandfather even had, if I'm not mistaken, I know one, but I think he had both of his legs amputated. So the man that you've loved and cared for so many years, he's gone. I know she was hurting. So just want to put that out there. So I'm walking towards the kitchen. It's a very, very slow walk. And there's so much rushing through my mind. And I finally get to the door leading into the kitchen. Getting a little bit further, and my grandmother's sitting in her chair. And I don't know if it was my mom playing tricks, but I kind of remember her eyes rolling in the back of her head. I don't know if it did. But to hear my cousin say, it's grandma, and to stand there, I could only think about the worst, and I froze. I mean, because everything is chaotic. You have people yelling, saying, do this, call 911, all these other things. I was in a petrified state. Because it was like, I didn't want to acknowledge what was going on. And several days later, give or take 2 days or whatever, I found out that my grandmother passed. I can remember just being so unstable at the funeral. I just couldn't. And this ties into suicide because my grandmother was my confidant. We talked so much, coming home from school. I'm just on the first floor of my grandmother, just being in her presence. Again, just being such a kind, godly woman. And not really being all that close to my mother anymore, It hurt. It really did. It hurt because it's like I'm empty. I'm bare. And the only person that I felt really understood me is no longer with me. And I say that because I've always been the black sheep of my family. My ideals don't necessarily match up with my family's ideals. My way of thinking don't match up with theirs. Like, I'm just very different from my family. And anyone that knows me personally and knows my family can attest to that. And what really hurt me the most, and this even happened with my grandfather, was everybody, of course, is in their feelings. Because like I said, we lost the pillars of our family. You know, we lost our grandfather. The building barely stood because that pillar was gone. We lost my grandmother. Everything just came, crumbling down. Because when I speak of my aunts, I have 3 aunts. One of my aunts was, in South Holland, Illinois. My aunt, who I call Billie Jean, had already passed away, and then my aunt Sally is still living. So like I said, my aunt in South Holland, Illinois is not here, but the rest of the family literally is in 2 buildings. When my grandmother passed, slowly but surely, everybody started to move away, and the close-knit that we had, the community that we had, was gone. And I wanted someone to reach out to me. I wanted someone to talk to me, to hold me, to even ask me how I was feeling. Because then, and even now, I'm very emotional. I'm driven by my emotions. I am. Got better control of it, but, it is what it is. And I don't have anybody to talk to anymore. And everybody in the family, and I don't hate anybody for this, but it upset me because for everyone it was, I lost my mother, I lost my grandmother, I lost my father, I lost my grandfather, I lost. Never once did they consider me or my other cousins who knew them. And it got to the point that I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I contemplated many, many different times how I wanted to take my life. Many different times. From, less deadly to the most deadly. Because in my mind, it's just like, if y'all don't care enough to ask me how I'm feeling, you're not going to miss me when I'm gone. And to lose the only person that, from my standpoint, genuinely cared about me, why am I still here? And I don't want to go too deep into this because this is going to go more on the spiritual realm. But, just for the story, I felt God speaking to me just like, no, son, don't do it. And it's from that point that I started to search out God for who I wanted. Like, it was like, in essence, I wanted to search out God for who my grandmother knew him to be, but with my relationship with him. And, it led me to where I am now. It led me to Judaism. And again, that could be another story for another time. But when it comes to suicide, you guys, it is a very important thing. Many things can trigger it. If it wasn't just for my background and being close to my grandmother, I don't know if I would still be here on this platform, on this channel, to talk to you guys. But what I will say is, suicide is very serious. Treat it as such. When someone is going through a hard time, family or friend, don't be too busy to not talk to that person. Don't be so consumed with your life. We all go through something, but you never know that one phone call that you don't answer could be the difference between someone being here or being gone. And it's not a guilt trip, but I'm just being honest. And, I've grown from this, but I never talked to anyone about it. It was just me battling demons on my own and them even resurfacing later. But hopefully this story can help you guys understand suicide a little bit better and be a little bit more attentive to those around you. So you guys, that's the very first of Tea Time Talk. And you know, if you like this video, please rate, comment, subscribe, share it on your social media. All my links will be down below for the social medias that I have. To my old subscribers, thank you for rocking out with me. New subscribers, welcome to the family. Since spilling all the tea, you guys know that I spill the tea so you guys can catch it. And again, thank you guys for supporting me and rocking out with me. So I love all of you. And until next time, guys, peace.